Hey everybody, welcome to today's video feedback. And let's start with the drawing from Annie Peer. So he made a study of one of my new Poses tutorials, and you also asked if you could use it on your Instagram and with a credit. So if you're just put in the credits of the subscription, explain that it's an exercise and you credit my name, then that's okay. And that's also good for yourself so that people understand that you use the reference for that. So let's look at the drawing. So what is important, what I use when I'm drawing is construction. So using these kind of shapes to build the character. And I think you did a great job with that. Maybe this mouth, putting a bit out and putting this nose a bit here. And think about how this nose is built. So I think something like this. And then we can add the eyes. So here with the eyes direction, this one is looking down and this one is almost here. Try to have this eye direction in it. So something like this. With the hair, I think it's a little bit too far. I don't know out of my head how far I did go, but think about the hairline. So we have a hairline, and oftentimes I think we could do this. So, and it goes around this shape. So really think how these shapes are connected with each other, etc. So here, drawing this ear, like this here. Maybe if we put this a bit lighter. And for the hair, try to have not every line exactly the same. So try to play a bit with it. And that's really hard with an hair like this. But what you would want to avoid is that you have these parallel lines. That you, doing the same thing again and again. So try to make it a bit more, using a bit of overlap, make some shorter and longer. And still it's important to get overall big shape in it. But watch out a bit for this, unless it's the style you're going for. There are a lot of cartoons that have that as style. So, for this t-shirt, so if this is the body, always use these shapes. Think about how this clothing goes over the body. And also for these pants and these legs. So here this legs goes. I like that you left this space here. So here's a little bit of perspective. So if he's putting his feet here and the horizon line is somewhere here, then you would see, and you would look a bit on these feet, like this. Then maybe put this one. I think I've drawn this feet like this, but seeing it now, maybe I would make it a bit more grounded. I would even maybe use this one to get that feeling. But here you can see that those feet have these directions, and you look a bit upon them. Like if you would draw this feet as a box, you would have a box a bit like this. So think a bit in those shapes. I really like these overlapping shapes used, so that looks all great. So keep it up and appear. So let's look at this cute squirrel from GR. So let's look. I really like it. I think it's really fun, a fun illustration, cool style. Maybe for these eyes, I would let him look at this one. I don't know why. Maybe you wanted to let him look at that one, but I don't know. I think I would look at this one. Those eyebrows a bit more like this. So I'm trying to think about the construction around these eyes. I think these ears are a little bit too much at the forehead. I think they're a bit more on the side. I hope I'm right. So here, for these whiskers, I would use, maybe make a small shape, a big shape, and a medium shape. Maybe also, you can also show that a bit here to give this head this shape. Here for this shape, let's draw in those teeth. I'll also think a bit about the thickness of those teeth. So here, like this here. So I'm trying to, for this breast hair, use a single shape and use a bit of construction. So then we have this here, this one here. Here, this looks really great. Yeah, oftentimes I'm using this here, these kind of things. So just a little bit surface to show a bit of perspective. I think you did a great job with going around these shapes. So this body is a bit too much. I think using this, a bit of a belly like this would make more sense. And then he's still full of all the eating he did. So here in this leg. So use these overlapping lines to create depth. They don't have to be super big. So here. I'm thinking about these arms. Maybe you could do something like this. So full. Maybe you can draw that other one also here. I don't know. Maybe this okay, but I have the feeling that this is a little bit too much anatomy for this kind of animal. Maybe using this shape, I would make this one and this a little bit simpler. I think this line is also too thick. I think this can be a really thin line there. And think about how this goes around the belly. Then we have this tail. I like that you used these here the hair and this is straight, so you have that complex versus simple. Maybe something like this. Or maybe you can also draw the tail like something like this. Maybe a bit much. I'm just trying something out. You could also hear, I think, and it's not really right yet, but looks too much like a tongue, but there's a little bit more depth in it. You can see it here, these. So maybe that's something you can try. And when you're drawing these things, and it can be a bit of style to use these kinds of things. Oh, there are cartoons like Dexter or something that use it, but think about how this goes around and then this shape. So what I'm often doing is I'm drawing these shapes through it to see if it's all correct. But great work, GR. Let's go to the next one. John, so you asked me about these rough sketches. And let's see, I think I'm just going to draw top of it. And I think it's really good to draw this this rough. And so keep doing that. Here, let's look. So I think this looks cool. Maybe you can use the eyes, something like this here, and then nose, mouth. I'm just going to scribble on top of it. So then this here, hair. You can put some hair here. Then this head. So it's these rough sketches are really good because you're drawing through the shapes and you're really thinking about this hair. And here, and here we have this the shoulders on opposite angles than the hips. I think these are the breasts, but also use a little bit of construction to think about how. So this is the rib cage, and then how are these breasts connected to the rib cage? So maybe you can check out some anatomy for that. And then for the arm, maybe you can use this a little bit of a line of action there to get a bit of a flow into it. Then here, you also asked about perspective. So here we're drawing the fingers around this part. So here's this line of action we want. And some, yeah, let's use a bit of perspective here. So we're drawing one leg. It's going like this here. And then we can draw the other one. It's going like this. So you have this effect. So this is a bit of a straightforward perspective, but we can also make it more like this. So this extreme perspective, like this here. Then I'm using these shapes to first draw this big, then here, and then we have this hair, and then we have the body. So maybe here drawing this arm. Because of the perspective, it gets smaller and smaller when we go down. We try to think in these basic shapes, right? For the and this stage can be really rough. That's fine. What's gonna really help is to look at some pictures or something, or maybe if you have a statue or a toy, look, hold it, use it as a reference for the perspective. So how I also often start with perspective is basically then just drawing these two lines, and then So the body, we can divide the body through 8. So we know actually if this is the perspective, then we know that this is the middle. And divide again, the middle. And then, so we know here, this is the head. So I think something like this is then the head. So here, is this the middle? I think a bit bigger. So let's draw the ribcage here. So, something like this here. It's a bit bigger, but using this technique of making a square and making this in it, you can calculate where all the points are in perspective. So that's how I draw characters in perspective. Check out the ebook about perspective, or the perspective videos, to learn more about it. So Stefan, awesome work again. This would be a great sticker. I would expect it to see it through all my city, stuck on everything. It's great. I think you did a great job. I find you're really good at these for making these props, like these maskers or vehicles, all these kind of things. You really have a strong sense of how to make things look solid. So actually, I only have the feeling that maybe this sunglass is a bit of the wrong angle, I think. I don't know, maybe it needs to be a bit more of an angle, sorry, like this. So maybe you can think a bit about the perspective you want to have in it. So if there's this perspective, maybe you can then even make this drawing more dynamic by maybe pushing the perspective even a little bit more. So something like this, and that you used it, that you draw these glasses following this perspective. And then here this part following this perspective, and also here this thing, so that everything here is, so that you get more stronger perspective in it. And then of course using the construction also following that perspective. And maybe just by adding a little bit more perspective, that you get these stronger, that gets even more dynamic. You can even go further than this. You can even go, if you want to really get this distorted look, you could go for something like this. But yeah, that's up to you. Maybe you can play around a bit with perspective for your drawings. So let's look at Frank. You asked for a composition about this image. And I think I already quite like the composition. So if we're using this. So what I often also do is with perspective, I use this rule of 9 or rule of 3. So in this case, maybe let's really follow this. Oh, I think I deleted it. Let's put this one here. Let's put this UFO right here. And take this one, make it a little bit smaller. Here, let's put this one here. And I think this one, there's only one. Maybe I would play around with that a bit more. Sorry, I'm just mumbling a bit and a bit thinking about figuring out. But I think you did really already really right. So I like this line, so that really frames this space cow. Then we can use this to show the UFO. Maybe just go like this. So then you have these lines that are going like this. And then we also have this line that goes like this. So you're trying to find these. Yeah, I also like that idea. So maybe we can add a line like this so that it's also showing that it goes to that there. You can use these things also to get a bit of a line like this. So we have this planet here. Then we can add some planets here, following this star. So maybe here's a big planet, also with these rings. Here's some small things. So you're following this line a little bit without making it too obvious. So something like that. So maybe you can use even some foregrounds, some here, because he's eating this grass. So maybe you can make this alien grass also in the foreground. Not too much. So here. So I think it looks really great, man. Great work. So we can add some stars here as well. And you want to use this framing as well sometimes. It's good, getting a bit out of the canvas. So great work, man. Keep it up. Lucas, so this is a really cool drawing. I really like it. So let's make it a little bit bigger for this video. Yeah, I think you're doing really great with drawing, and also I like that you using these props here. Let's pen. But I think if you're, for example, here this line, I think you can use a little bit of white here so that it's not one close shape there. So maybe you can use some shadow then there. So for the hair, think about if you have the skull, that the hair needs some space around it. So you did it fine here. And also think how this would go a bit more like this here. And you want to have these flowing lines. I think this is a bit too straight. Here, this is getting a bit too much detail. I would maybe make this straight and let this stick out. Maybe make this one even bigger. So I think this harness needs to have this space. So really think about how that there needs to be some space between these plates. Maybe I have the feeling, maybe that's just me, that this part is a little bit too close to her face. So maybe make that a little bit more out. So I think this hand could be a bit bigger. Maybe you can do something like this. So the hand, if we have the head, and this is the hairline, our hand is a bit like the same height as our head bit. So this, yeah, this seems, I think this seems a bit better. I think you're drawing these hands a little bit too small. And think with these shapes, how they wrap around. So this metal, so it's not, so it's hard. So it's not bending. So here it all needs to be able to go into each other. but I think you did a great job. Maybe use a bit more. So this is the complex side and the simple side. So if you're drawing an arm like this, you're trying to have this S side versus an I, and then maybe a C shape. Oftentimes I like to have a straight shape here, so here, so something like this, so that you have these. A lot of times these parts are the bony parts of the arm, and here's the muscle. So here's shoulder, this underarm muscle. So maybe you can make this a little bit more straighter, and then here this clothing can hang. That's good. So something like that. It's great work. Let's look at those. So here, don't simply draw these lines like this, but think about how does this goes over the feet. So I think if you just draw one line, that's enough. Maybe not even. So think about how these folds work. Maybe you look up some boots from a clothing website or something. Here, watch out for this. I think this is not really necessary. So I think this can be, maybe you can use here, this part. Maybe you can put this leg front, so like this. So it feels a bit more power. Down here. Think about this shape goes around that leg. Then here. Here. Maybe push this body a bit further backwards. I think that looks, you get this action line in it. Maybe, and try to exaggerate it. So here you have these arms, then maybe the sword is still really behind her, something. But I really like it, Lucas. Keep going like this, and really think about, even with these more realistic characters, about the construction of your characters, and draw through your shape, so you know, especially with this armor, that it's how it goes around. And yeah, about those clothing, watch out for these things. So observe how clothing works. So we have this. I really want to make some tutorials about it. So, but we have this stretch side and then this bend side. So if this is bent, then you would see this. But if this one is stretched, then it would be like this. If it's in the middle, you would see maybe one. Then, but if you go really like this, then maybe you would see a bit more. So, but I think you can simplify some things a little bit more. So maybe here as well. So here, and I really like that you maybe use some overlap line. Yeah, I don't know. Now maybe it's open. Think about how this goes around, but you did really great with that. It's touching this leg. You get this fiber. So great work. Think about the proportions of the body. These hands are too small, I think, also here. And great work. And thanks everyone for sending your work to me for feedback. And if you want, you can do it again for next week. See the description under this video on how to do that. Thanks everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.